Welcome to my channel. This is the Diamond Chrysalis, aka Divested Diamonds. This is Divestment with Purpose, and you have arrived. Greetings and salutations, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for being here today. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you kindly. In today's premiere, we're going to talk about divestment, what it is, what it looks like, and what it's not. But first, let us define divestment as it pertains to us as Black women in this space. To put it quite simply, divestment is choosing yourself and putting yourself first. It's walking away from any toxic situation that you have going on in your life by choosing peace and choosing yourself. The pinnacle of divestment is you, because you're the most important part of it. The whole point of divesting is to work on yourself so you could eventually live your life in peace. Any traumas that you have need to be addressed. Anything else in your life that brings you pain and serves no purpose has to be removed. The perfect example of a true divester in the celebrity world is, as I've mentioned before, Tina Turner. We're all familiar with her story. Matter of fact, I've dedicated an entire video to her on this channel, so please feel free to check it out. Anyway, as we all know, Tina's union with Ike Turner was a tumultuous one. All the mental, emotional, and physical abuse that she went through was no doubt debilitating. Eventually, she had to do something about it and chose herself. She left Ike Turner, took control of her career. She then met a man who appreciated her, married him, moved to another country, renounced her U.S. citizenship, and lived her life in peace. Tina's very act of choosing herself and improving upon her life in order to find inner peace is the true definition of divestment. Her dating and later marrying a white man is a consequence of that divestment. Divestment was never about dating out, but because divested women are human, companionship is a part of the human experience, and when they do date or choose to get married, it's to men of other races. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about the lies, the slander that divestors keep getting from people who don't even understand what divestment is all about. As with any quote-unquote movement, there are wannabes, infiltrators who wear masks, pretending to be a part of that movement because, well, it sounds like fun, right? It provides a sense of belonging for whatever it is that people are looking to do. The term divestment in the social media sphere has been bastardized to simply mean Black women who pedestalize and date white men every day. There is post after post of women claiming to be divested when they truly aren't. Is it true that divestors don't date Black men? That is correct. This movement, as we know it, was created by a group of Black women whose preference in dating did not include Black men. Is there anything wrong with that? No. As for those who are critical of this action and think divestors only date or marry other races of men out of spite, that couldn't be further from the truth. Spite has never been a motivator in any real divestors' interracial dating. Fake divestors are the ones who wish to be with Black men But because they can't get one to stick around long enough, for whatever reason, they date low caliber men of other races as a filler until they find the right king to pay them attention. These other race men that they pick are no different from Pookie and Ray Ray, just different race and different skin tone. And this is why they keep getting the same results. A little over 2 months ago, I was tagged in a post by this lady here, right? Phoenix. She tagged a few other content creators as well and said the following: please take a look at this and please read everything. Not all Black women need to be saved and stood up for. This shared post came from a couple of content creators called Nova and Venus. Now, I'm just assuming that there are two of them, but anyway, someone calling themselves Rox Noir or Roxy Noir commented on their channel and said the following: a lot of us divestors have been forced to date out due to Black men undervaluing us. She should allow Becky to have them and let them see what they've lost. Until then, we will proceed forward. It sounded like this individual was responding to someone else, but let's continue. The content creators or content creator whose channel was graced with this comment decided to respond to this individual's post and said, this is what a fence sitter under the quote-unquote guise of divestment looks like. Feel forced? Real divested women made the choice to date out. They weren't forced because a bandit didn't want them. You sound like if the opportunity came, you would go back to a bandit because interracial dating is something for now, until your naked unicorn shows up. She continues. This is why I'm a solo Black woman on my own journey and not part of divestment. Because divested Black women have been calling out for Black women to divest, and this is what you've reeled over into divestment. Fence sitters. Black women need to learn how to go and stop with the rescue missions. Mark my words. Soon, you will have all these fence sitters making divestment look like a swirling freak show, coming to social media with the most crazy stories about their failed relationships. I see it coming and want no parts of this mess on the rise. Okay, let's address this part of her comment where she says, this is why I'm a solo Black woman on my own journey and not a part of divestment. Well, divestment is a solo journey. If you feel comfortable doing divestment on your own and not occasionally liaising with other women online, that's fine. That's your prerogative. Let's continue. Because Black women have been calling out for Black women to divest, and this is what you've now reeled over into divestment, fence sitters. When we decided to create this quote-unquote movement, and I say we because I'm part of the original group, there was a lot of pushback. People were too embarrassed to even be associated with us. That was years ago. Divestment is not new. We've been doing this a while now. A lot of so-called divestment content that most Black women are consuming today is watered down swirling, basically a free-for-all. When we first started this quote-unquote movement, we had a few fence sitters because, again, some Black women found it hard to untether themselves from Black men. We talked about femicide, grape, and other issues within the so-called community concerning Black women and why they needed to divest. Our message was based on Black women leaving Blackistan and getting themselves to safety. Relationships would come later. However, swirling at the time was also in full force. But even then, certain Black women didn't want to associate themselves with that either. Did we encourage Black women to open up their dating options? Absolutely. But nothing was ever forced. See, if you truly understand the meaning of divestment, No one should ever have to force you to do it. It's common sense. You should want the best for yourself. It doesn't have to be this hard or up to other people to force you out of dangerous situations and environments. You should want that for yourself. And if your reasons for divesting have nothing to do with escaping Blackistan, but you still need to divest for your own sake. Because again, I'm very aware that everyone's reasons for divesting are not the same. We've always been aware that divestment wasn't and isn't for every Black woman. This is why the community gatekeepers exist. The mammies, the pro-Black women who still believe in the so-called community. Divestment is not a conversion course, and we're not here to tell everyone to be a part of it. It's a personal choice. I cannot want that for you more than you do. Let's move on. She then says, Black women need to learn how to go and stop with the rescue missions. Okay, helping Black women out of sticky situations isn't for everyone. Let those who are good at it do the job, and those who aren't can just go about their business. And listen, there are certain Black women who truly do not want the help, and there's nothing that any of us can do about that. Those women will get left behind before others can see value in you. You need to be able to see it in yourself. If Blackistan is where you wish to be because you have, some kind of hope for the males who are deleting other Black women, I don't know what to tell you. I do hope, however, that I don't have to read about you in page 6, the Daily Mail, or People magazine. Black women have to want the help in order to get it. It will not be forced upon them. And look, here's a fact. Not everyone is capable of divesting. It's not quite as simple as people think it is. Let's continue. She says, mark my words, soon you have all these fence sitters making divestment look like a freak show. Too late. I talked about this close to a year ago. People have been making a mockery of divestors and divestment the moment it was considered, quote unquote, trendy to jump on the bandwagon. Fake divestors who are really swirlers ruin divestment. Infiltrators who are lonely but want to be a part of something online ruin divestment. People who have no idea what divestment really means ruin divestment. Fence sitters have been very instrumental at ruining divestment. Anytime a Black woman fails to vet and ends up with some psycho of a different race that deletes her, videos sprout all over the place, calling the deceased a divester. People are literally cloud chasing off of these deleted Black women by putting the title Divestment Gone Wrong in their videos for clicks and views. A lot of these women aren't even divestors. They never claimed to be. They are swirlers who, for whatever reason, didn't do enough vetting on these men and ended up in body bags. The difference between swirling and divestment is that with swirling, all you have to do is date outside of your race. That's what makes you a swirler. Divestment requires internal work. But here's the issue. Anyone can pretend to have worked on themselves without proof. The only way that you can tell if they are truly divested is by observing their lifestyle, character traits, and how they carry themselves. The fact that these Black women are being deleted this way, or deleted at all, is a sad state of affairs. But there are plenty of Black men and pro-Black women taking joy in blaming divestment for the demise of these women. For them, it's a joyful gotcha moment. For these women, their lives are cut short because they dared search for romance in the wrong place without doing their due diligence. So back to this lady who claimed to be a divestor, even though Nothing about her seems to indicate that she is. This little conversation continues to where she comes back and says, LOL, truth just hurts. A lot of us prefer black men, but we feel betrayed. It's okay. It doesn't make you a pick-me or whatever BS that y'all like to call black women with their own opinions. Black women are the most race loyal and hold a lot of resentment towards black men. Rightfully so. I'm not a fence sitter. I'm divested. As I mentioned earlier, the terms divested or divestment have been bastardized to mean something totally different. People are literally making things up as they go along. She can't just call herself a swirler because that's not what's quote unquote trending right now. And of course, after she said all of that, people in the comment section came for her. She was called a fence sitter and a non-divester. So everyone in the comment section was actually in agreement with each other. The general consensus was that if you're still interested in dating black men, you're not a divester. And yes, that is true. A lot of the women seemed to understand what divestment was, and that's a good thing. And that was so refreshing to see. But she wasn't done. She then comes back with another comment in response to another individual saying, "You're incorrect. Nowhere in the definition of divestment does it state letting a specific or any male groups in general go. Divestment is about detaching yourself in all aspects of life where there's no benefit or gain. You can still be divested and date black men." See, herein lies the problem. This right here is a lie, okay? It's not just about ridding yourself of things that don't benefit you. Getting rid of toxicity is a key component of divestment. You have majority of black men deleting black women and girls in large numbers, and the community normalizing the sexualization of children and girls. And degenerate behavior is often elevated as quote unquote part of the culture. Guess who's the driving force for that kind of behavior? Black men and their mammy handlers. That does not bode well with a divested mind. You can't be holding out hope, looking for that unicorn because you will never find it. Or him. As mentioned earlier, the women who created this quote-unquote movement, as we know it today, weren't dating black men. Those who were married were not married to black men. And as far as relationships are concerned, you don't have to be in one to be a divester. Single black women can be and are divestors too. You don't have to be in a relationship with a man of a different race to qualify for divestment. As long as you're doing the work to get your mind right, living a life free of toxicity and putting yourself first every single time, that's all that matters. Divestment was never about tethering yourself to men of other races. It's always been about self-preservation and maintaining a healthy, solid outlook on life while creating a sense of self-worth. In order for you to be considered a swirler, you have to be in an interracial relationship. You don't necessarily have to have done the internal work to qualify. All you have to do is just date out. Divestment is the complete opposite. You don't have to be in any relationship at all to be considered divested. If or when you choose to be in one, you have to make sure to intensely vet the man you allow in your personal space to make sure that they don't set you back to your old life. Divestment is not a trend, but a gradual cleanup of your own life. It's an ongoing process to make sure other people's toxicity doesn't penetrate the peace you've built for yourself. My thing is this: no man and no other human being, be it a relative or otherwise, is ever worth losing your peace over. Nip it in the bud. Always. No one's worth the compromise when it comes to your mental health. No one. So, for those of you who think and feel that you can be quote unquote divested while being in relationships with black males, please create your own movement, but leave divestment out of it. Listen, if you still want to date black males, that's your prerogative. What you're not going to do is redefine divestment as it pertains to the quote unquote movement. If you love black men, continue to pursue that. But please don't call yourself a divestor, because you're not. You're part of the reason that this whole thing has turned into a freak show. So I too responded to her original comment where she said, "A lot of us divestors have been forced to date out due to black men devaluing us." And this is what I had to say. Oh my. If you have to be forced to date out, it means your default and preference are black men. This isn't divestment, but swirling at best. Because given a chance, this individual would gladly and quite happily date black men. If she feels forced, which no woman should, she might as well stay and work it out with her true preference. A true divestor would never be confused on whether or not black men are even an option in dating. Furthermore, divestment has little to do with dating, but the preservation of one's safety, peace, and health away from toxicity. Once again, let me reiterate, divestment isn't about pedestalizing or dating white men or men of other races. If you're dating out and haven't divested your life, you are simply a swirler. You are not a divestor. The reason we created this quote-unquote movement was to show black women that race loyalty was a detriment in the so-called community, especially for black women. Black women were always being used, and still are, as mules and protectors, expected to fight for everyone else but themselves, all the while still being abused and disrespected for simply existing. It didn't make sense to keep doing this for a group of men who have expressed time and time again how much they loathe the women of their community and detest the wombs from which they came. All we wanted was for black women to see that the reason they were constantly living on a hamster wheel was because they were fighting for something that would never come to fruition. There was no benefit in maintaining a so-called community that didn't see their value, but somehow leaned on them for their physical, mental, and emotional support. Which is crazy, because black women need all of that and then some. Now, let's talk about the slander that some of these cloud-chasing dimwits who ignorantly use divestment, or what they believe to be divestment, as a shaming tactic towards black women for clicks and views. A few days ago, I came across a video of a young lady who had a lot to say about divestors. I was so intrigued by her ignorance, misinformation, and unfettered confidence in speaking about something that she knew nothing of. Let's take a listen.
So I am nosy, and I found out that in real life, a lot of the divestors, I know one in real life, she hates black men. She's always hated them. And so she was so thirsty for a white man that she ended up getting this loser white man who didn't have a job for 3 years, and she had to take care of him. That's the reality of divesting. They're getting the scraps, the leftovers. Online, they're going to tell you that they're all dating millionaires. That is false. No, they're not. For the average person. What I notice is women tend to lie. So when they get online and they're all trying to sell this narrative, and it's funny because one person actually said they be trying to influence black women to date white men like they're the Jehovah's Witness. You know how Jehovah's Witnesses knock on doors and they're influencing you to like believe in Christ and stuff like that? That's literally what black women do when it comes to recruiting other black women to date white men. They act like the Jehovah's Witnesses. And they're going to lie to you and tell you, oh my God, these men are superior. They're better than any other man. Oh my gosh, they just make you so much happier. That is false. Men are men. And like I said, I have dated outside of my race. If it's one thing that I've learned from dating outside of my race is that any man is capable of pain, of causing you pain. And my worst heartbreak was actually from a white boy, to be honest. I don't know. When they break your heart, they break your heart. They just have that evilness that's been in the history, in their genes. They do their big one. My dad always said those people are demonic. I don't know. After my dating experience, I can't argue with that.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This woman has no clue what divestment is all about. Yet, here she is, dishing out advice and lying about divestors. Painting divestors as these clueless idiots who will take any man as long as he's white. What she's talking about here are swirlers. But because a lot of her kind will say anything simply because they have a mic, that makes it true. They will say anything online for clicks and views. And what she said prior to this was that there are a lot of black women worshiping white men online, and it's embarrassing. Now that I agree with, because I've seen it myself, and it is embarrassing. I've already talked about this in previous videos on how black women need not pedestalize any race of men. It makes us look desperate, cheap, and foolish. And this isn't a deterrent to pursuing interracial relationships. It's just common sense. Her entire message, however, and what she had to say in that video should be geared towards swirlers and not divestors. Inexperienced young women who are taking bad advice online are the ones who are ending up deleted by men of other races because they're constantly being told by other desperate and inexperienced people that dating out will solve all their problems. There's no mention of vetting or any other precautionary measure to ensure that they do not end up with psychopaths. Unfortunately, when you don't vet, you do end up with all that crap at the bottom of the barrel. They just assume that dating out equals good men. This is very dangerous. And guess what? Had these young women been truly divested in the first place, they would most likely still be here because they would have had the knowledge and the tools to avoid these types of situations. It doesn't help that they were young and naive. I mean, what's a 30-something-year-old man doing with a 19-year-old young adult if not grooming, coercion, and overall sinister intent? No one deserves to be sliced and diced and discarded like trash. Unfortunately, these young women are being labeled divestors when they're really not. And you're probably thinking, well, someone's been deleted here. Surely, that should trump your little divestment community. But hear me out. We have to defend what we stand for when unfortunate events such as these occur. The fact that these young, deceased women are being labeled as divestors, it reflects very poorly on our overall intent as divestors. You're trying to make it seem as though we are responsible for these young women being deleted through our teachings and our messages. And that is simply 100% misinformation. We are not, and I repeat, not leading anyone to their demise. The same can be said for those of you who are doing celebratory videos about these women. You all are having way too much fun doing these videos. Clowns, clowns, clowns. The clownery. So while you're sitting online blaming divestment as the reason for these young women's demise, why are the parents and loved ones getting off scot-free? Did she not have enough people in her life who could advise her on the dangers of most men and what it looks like in order to keep herself safe? And this young lady whose video I'm referencing is not the only one who's done a video without knowing what she's talking about. There are several other black males who've strategically created channels talking about divestment because it brings clicks and views to their channels. Anyone with any dating experience knows that dusties come in every race. Some more than others, but it's dusty out there nonetheless. And you've got to be careful because for some of these males, their mental Wi-Fi permanently operates on low-speed internet, so good luck with that. The lies, however, continue. Someone in the comments section started a thread and they said, a lot of the 4B movement is the result of the divestment movement gone wrong. My answer to this is the original 4B movement in South Korea actually started, in my opinion, with those women understanding their worth by divesting first and removing the toxicity that was being imposed upon them. But anyway, the embellishment, the gossip, and the lies continue in the comment section, where someone says, I think so too. They go to the other side, they meaning divestors, and realize there's really nothing for them over there. They think vanilla men will be better, but after going to the other side and getting dogged, they realize that men are men, no matter the color. So they just give up on men. They either become lesbians or swear off all kinds of relationships. Again, garbage on top of more simplistic garbage. Lying about divestors and making things up. The reason most women are opting out of relationships today has to do with the increasing lack of quality men. And women are now understanding and knowing their worth. We're not all turning into lesbians. In any case, there's nothing wrong with being one, but these people are online spreading misinformation, and this is adding more negativity to divestment. There was another comment here where someone said, first, you need to know that not all black women join all types of movements. Secondly, you have no proof that the divestors headed towards 4B. And finally, there are a lot of black women who lived and have lived happily single before the 4B. Case of the rich auntie. So before saying nonsense, please do your research like a responsible person. Finally, a dose of reality and common sense. You know, it's easy for people to come online and just follow inexperienced content creators who revel in lies and sensationalism without asking the right questions. The truth of the matter is, divestors are not responsible for other people's dumb decisions or those who lack self-love. We get together as people who have something in common and talk about our issues. But because we rub a lot of people the wrong way as nonconformists, people harbor a lot of hatred for us. Even Mushmouth Grandpa had something to say about it. Let's take a listen.
Shalom, shalom, assalamu alaikum to the melanated family. This is the elder coming to you with another informative video. All praises to our creators and our ancestors. The family, this video is about these divestors who is showing no love to the sister in Milwaukee, Sinead Robertson. They ain't made a video towards her. They ain't made no video to her family. They made no condolences toward her. We all know what that devil did, but why they not even giving condolences? Because they don't care. Just sit up there and talk about black women, power and all this other nonsense, and the black man is this, that, and the other. Here's some devil that chopped this woman up. in 1,000 pieces, but they won't even make a condolences video to the sister, to her family. The only one doing that I see is black men. But yet we don't love black women, according to these so-called delusional divestors, because that's what they are.
What happened to Sade Robinson was extremely unfortunate. It's a very sad story. However, these cloud-chasing vultures are not doing these videos because they care. By adding, quote-unquote, divestor to their title, it brings them money, clicks, and views, while having a little laugh at this young woman's expense. Are you donating that money to the family, sir? Of course not. But you, your whiskers, and toothless mouth want to shame divestors for her demise. And the fact that you believe that none of us have passed our condolences to her family is ignorantly presumptuous. And this is to the rest of you, the so-called community. Why are you allowing Grandpa to come on camera with no teeth, just flapping his gums? Is this how you treat your elders? So let me get this straight. You can't put your Cash App money together and send this man to see a dental specialist? Shame on you. On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, divest, divest, divest. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Diamond Chrysalis. You've been watching Divestment with Purpose. Divest like a butterfly. And I'll see you next time. Bye, diamonds.